and double Seattle next week as the Orioles continue their journey. But it is a purple week here and a purple month here as the Ravens get back out onto the field for some fake football this week. Vinny Iyer follows fake football, real football, fantasy football. He's down in the Carolina area covering all things NFL and fantasy football for Sporting News. And running around with the Carolina Panthers down there, but certainly monitoring what's happening everywhere. I'll tell you this, Vinny, with Ryan Mallett throwing the ball around and the Kaepernick situation still hanging out there and all of the issues with the Ravens, it does kind of put two eyes on preseason football this week in maybe a way it wouldn't if this were a settled franchise right now, because many, many things are unsettled on the offensive side of the ball for the Ravens.
Yeah, you look at them, the two things that seem to be the certainties are the newcomers there with Danny Woodhead and Jeremy Maclin. You know what they're going to do. Danny Woodhead's going to catch a lot of passes, so is Jeremy Maclin, but in a different way, you know, those guys are going to be lifeblood of this offense. But tight end has just become an injury mess, trying to figure that out. And then, Joe Flacco and his backup situation and his back situation, both of those things have been kind of propping up for this team. So you look at it, though, when you look at the teams around the AFC, who do you trust most for maybe that last or fifth seed in the playoffs? You still lean back to Baltimore because of the track record and some of the things that they consistently do to tweak to make the team playoff contender.
Well, the Maclin thing certainly had us all feeling really good. I think the last time I talked to you was back during draft time, and even after the draft, the question was, well, what did they do to help Flacco on the offense? Lewis has been out a little bit this week. Obviously, they lost Saragusa, who looked like he was going to be, one of their at least, first 6, 7 guys. And, I think there's still questions about the right tackle position. And the real question is who's going to run the ball? Because if Flacco has to throw the ball 52 times a week, they're going to have problems anyway. Running the football is really going to be a big part of the solution, as much as Flacco's back is going to be that. But if they can run the ball, they can do some things. If they can't run the ball, I don't believe they're going to be able to pass the ball exclusively, successfully enough to win.
Yeah, I think the challenge is without Kenneth Dixon, how are they going to get that down with Terrence West for longer term now? You knew he was going to have to carry the ball for a while. But then maybe Buck Allen comes back in the mix. It helps with the team. Maybe the offensive line rises. But can't forget about Woodhead. I think some people forget that he can be a tough runner when you need him in the red zone. Scored a lot of touchdowns for San Diego a couple of years ago. So he's a guy that I don't think you can limit his role as much as you'd like. Maybe if you're the Ravens and wanted to going into the season. I think he's a special guy, hard to stop. He's slippery out of the backfield, whether it's runs or receptions. So I think he's going to be a huge part of what they do. And for fantasy people, that's something everyone wants to pay attention to, that Danny Woodhead is going to be as good as a lot of the backs that you look at as RB2 fantasy.
By the way, Terrence West had a comment on Monday, because he did the podium with the Ravens this week, that if you have a fantasy team, I would draft me. I thought that was kind of an interesting little thing from a Baltimore guy and a Towson guy and a guy that bounced around the league a little bit, that this really is his opportunity now. It's his job, and but a lot of that is going to be about the offensive line. And I guess for fantasy people picking teams, these preseason games are very, very significant for things like that, as much as they are for the football team itself.
Yeah, what you may see develop is what you saw early in Melvin Gordon when he was a rookie, that Danny Woodhead had to take a bigger role there. I think with Terrence West's problem is I think he's a little bit limited to being an early down option for the team. Well, I think Woodhead probably gets pigeonholed a little bit because of the way he's been in New England and San Diego, just being a receiver, but he can do a lot more there. So I think this is a pretty good combination. That's why they've kind of sat on it, really haven't done much with Allen flashing a little bit more. That's been able to be the case. But frankly, there's not many running backs out there that you like maybe better than the situation with Woodhead. And his signing is proving to be more and more valuable as it goes on.
Vinny Iyer joining us here from Sporting News. He's covering the entire National Football League. If you need some fantasy inside, you might want to check him out on Twitter and at Sporting News, VINNIEIYER. He is down in the fighting city of Charlotte, North Carolina, where the Panthers are trying to pick themselves up. That's a hell of a division there, right, Vinny? I mean, all the way around. I had Baldy on earlier this week from Tampa Bay camp, and obviously Atlanta was the class of the division last year. The Saints, a lot of people don't realize that they weren't bad. They didn't finish in last place last year. I would think this is a bounce back for Carolina, but, I'm always questioning what's under the hood for Cam Newton because, I really don't love his act, to be honest with you.
Well, it's going to have to rev up here because there's no more resting on your laurels of MVP or Heisman or Super Bowl run or national championship. All that is over because Drew Brees playing extremely high level. Matt Ryan coming up the MVP. James Winston has a chance to compete for the MVP as well with their offense. So you got to strap in and gear up and start throwing because we know what the Falcons did last year. I think they'll be quite explosive. They didn't really lose much. I think they might be better with the tight end there, Austin Cooper helping. New Orleans, they're going to get better with Ted Ginn being a gun for hire to stretch the field and Adrian Peterson to help in the depth of the backfield. Then you go to Tampa, they didn't hold back and upgrading either with Deshaun Jackson and O.J. Howard. And then, of course, rounding back in Carolina, Christian McCaffrey. So all these teams have interesting weapons, aren't afraid to get in shootouts, and I think it's going to be a fun division to watch. I think you're going to see a lot of teams probably between 9-7 and 8-8, and I can't tell you who's going to win or pull away, but right now, you'd say the Falcons are still a mild favorite.
I would say of those teams, defensively, they've all had good days, better teams. The Falcons might be emerging. My buddy Mike Smith's running the Buccaneers down there, but the offenses will win those battles in that division, right? Like, that division every week, it's going to be 28-24 heading into the fourth quarter or something like that. Not going to be a lot of 10-6 games in the NFC South.
Yeah, definitely. You're going to see a lot of high-scoring games. I think the key is going to be what team can find balance. I think Bucs feel like they can do that more with Doug Martin. I think Carolina has that with Jonathan Stewart. The Falcons can run the ball. The Saints figure to be better with Peterson and Ingram. So you got to find that balance, and then you have to find the efficiency of quarterback. You're going to get some big plays for these quarterbacks. Winston has to cut down on the mistakes. Breeze has to cut down on the mistakes. And the same thing with Newton. So when you look at Matt Ryan, he was most successful, and his team was because he was most efficient with the high volume of passing. So that's going to be the key, is the quarterback that's the most efficient, the running game that helps him the most, and the defense that occasionally can capitalize to make that big play.
Vinny, as much as Ray Lewis told Colin Kaepernick and all the rest of us to shut up last week about social issues, the Kaepernick thing's not going away, dude. There's going to be an incredible rally on the steps up in front of Roger Goodell's place 2 weeks from now. This is not going to go away quietly. And obviously the Miami thing and Cutler. I mean, let's just start with Miami on the football field, losing Tannehill, bringing in Cutler and Gase, and then we can work backwards through Kaepernick because the Kaepernick story is going to be sitting there for us to talk about for quite some time, I feel.
Yeah, I think it's never going to end. Every time you see, especially when the preseason games start rolling, every time you see a backup quarterback, second, third string, fourth string, playing and struggling or throwing an interception or having a bad second half, you're going to see his name pop up. We heard that already with Blaine Gabbert playing well. Just comparison, contrast to Kaepernick right away in the first preseason game. So you're going to have that every single game until something happens with him that you feel like, hey, he's actually an option for a team. Because right now, even with the Baltimore situation or Seattle, he just didn't feel like he was a true option. So I think bottom line is NFL teams are not comfortable with uncomfortable situations, and I think he presents one all around because he creates maybe some controversy up front with off the field and on the field as well if you have a shaky starter. So many different things that layers of what he brings. And I think with Adam Hayes and Jay Cutler, they were able to throw $10 million at something they know for sure. He knows exactly what he's going to get from Cutler, very similar to Tannehill in his system, and I think that was where they had to go in that direction over something unknown.
But what is Jay Cutler at this point, right, in that offense? 6-10, 5-11. You know, what's really going to happen? Hell, they'll beat the Jets. I mean, and they'll split with the Bills. They might even beat the Bills twice. But, you know, they're not a playoff team with Jay Cutler. And, I mean, look, we saw Jay Cutler's act in Chicago. I don't really understand that go-to at this point. I really don't. And that's not pro-Kaepernick. That's just sort of anti-Cutler.
Yeah, I think you just look at Tannehill and Teller. They're pretty much the same quarterback in this particular system. So I think they wanted a quick solution, threw some money at it, much like the Sam Bradford situation. Oh, we know this guy. We like him. He can pick up our offense quickly. Teddy Bridgewater's down. We don't care. We're going to throw a first-round pick. We don't want to waste the season and throw it away. So I think the same mentality was here, that you need somebody to pick up the offense in 1 month. And you had to go to someone that somewhat knew the offense that was playing, and Tim Tebow and Peyton Manning are not options in the game's past. So I think that's basically what it came down to. He may not be the greatest option, but he's the one that they know, and the devil you know sometimes is better than the devil you don't.
Vinny Iyer joining us here, Sporting News. You can follow him out on Twitter for all your fantasy insights and thoughts, as much as we'll be watching the Ravens closely this week. Obviously, that other burgundy and gold team that we don't talk about around here and certainly don't like, they anger up the blood when they come up here, even for a preseason game. I think a lot of fans here would like to see these two go out at a tiddlywinks. It'd be fine. But the Redskins, diminished team in the offseason in your mind?
Well, I think they have a lot of question marks going in, and I think defensively a lot of factors in. And then you have Kirk Cousins, and he's being paid a lot now. You've got to break in with new receivers, namely Terrell Pryor, Jordan Reed's now hurt, Jameson Crowder maybe being asked to do too much. Bryce from slot position, Josh Doxson, the first-round pick, is up and down with his health. So a lot of question marks when you knew what you're getting with Deshaun Jackson, Garrett Garcon, and Reed in that offense working with Crowder. Now there's a lot of questions around him, including running back. Is Smudge, Kieran going to be the guy in the backfield? Are they going to get that power running that they want from Jake Gruden? So a lot of things around Kirk Cousins for how much they're paying him are big question marks that actually could affect play, and it probably means he's in his last year in Washington.
Vinny, I tell you what, man, it's going to be a long season here. Do you have any fantasy advice for people watching here? You got a couple of guys you got your eyes on for draftability here?
Yeah, I think we'll go with the quarterbacks, the glamour position, and two guys that have gotten a lot of debate on how high they can go are Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota, and for good reason. I think they both can have special seasons. You look at the upgraded weapons that Tennessee as well with Corey Davis and Eric Decker. And I love those pickups as well as Howard and Jackson there in Tampa. So I think both these guys could be really special, carry a lot of teams to the big thing. A lot of the way that Matt Ryan did, kind of off a down year, surprised a lot and really carried a lot of teams as a middle-round QB sleeper. So these two guys, I think the buzz is just going to continue to grow, and you want one of these guys on your team just to take a chance at that big season.
Vinny, take care of yourself down there. We're going to be following you at Sporting News. I know you're running around with golf this week, but we'll get you back on the football beat and back onto the proper grass out there as these preseason games get going. We're just praying for no injuries around here, or no lightning either. We don't need that either. So great having you on, Vinny. Be well.
All right, thank you.
He is Vinny Iyer of Sporting News, fantasy football insider there. I see him at the Super Bowl. I see him at the Combine. He's everywhere football fans are, and you can follow his NFL and fantasy advice out at Sporting News. You can find me in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear anywhere you happen to be. Thank God for the mobile device. It's a wonderful thing. The morning newspaper delivered digitally to you each and every morning via planetfitness.com. We send it onto your email inbox. It's free of charge. And it gets your day going with headlines, news, box scores. If you're not up late with the Orioles this week, you get all of that stuff. You can learn more about what they do at Planet Fitness at planetoftriumphs.com, where you get some great storytelling there for you. Last but never least, any breaking news that happens around here will happen first on the WNST Tech Service. That is all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And, of course, Dennis will be here on Thursday, pre-game, and you're getting you ready each and every weekend for football, 3 until 5. It is the SSV on WNST. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. We are throwing a party over in London on the Saturday before the Ravens game. Would love to hear from you on that, and we'll be talking about it on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and, of course, streaming live right here on our WNSTV channel as well as our YouTube live. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.